Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mugwump Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land. Over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Friend Pick episode of the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your host, Dayton Johnson. We've had a few of our podcast friends pick a topic for their guest spot. Lauren of the Beard Owl podcast, she chose Turning Red. Russ from the Festival Groove YouTube channel, he picked the Madonna film, Who's That Girl? This week, we welcome Bill Bant of the All 80s Movies podcast. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well, Dayton. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for being here. And joining us is one of our regulars. It is Mike Vermillion. How's it doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Living it up,
Yep.
wrapping my head in bandages and everything else, So, yes, we are discussing a pick that Bill made. It is the film from 1990, Darkman.
Who
No foolish heroics, if you please.
is Darkman? They destroyed everything he had, all that he loved, everything that he was. Now, crime has a new enemy, and justice has a brand new face.
I was afraid that you wouldn't want me anymore.
Of course I still want you.
The good news is that I know who's behind our little troubles of late. Finish it.
He has the power to look like any man,
These two are both sons of witches!
but he is unlike any man.
I gotta tell you something about me.
He's a cockroach. You think you kill him? And he pops up someplace else.
In the darkest hour,
Julie, who's the real monster here?
there's a light that shines on every human being. But one. From director Sam Raimi, Darkman.
All right, let's do our opening thoughts. So we'll start with Bill. And Bill, tell us why you picked Darkman and, first viewing and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. So the first reason is it's not an 80s movie. Even though it's probably filmed in the 80s, it's nice to get out of the decade every once in a while and discuss other movies that I like. So
Right.
I'm glad that Dayton invited me on and said I could pick a movie and it didn't have to be an 80s movie. So thank you for that. So yes, Darkman was my choice. Who is Darkman? What a marketing campaign. I wanted to know who the bandaged man in the dark trench coat running around on rooftops, getting shot at with grenades was. And that just seemed really exciting to me. It seemed like something different, something I'd never seen before. Unfortunately, when the movie was being released, I was entering my freshman year of college, so I was trying to deal with all that stuff. And I would not be able to watch this until it came out on video. And when I rented it, what a mix of different genres.
Yes.
And different other movie themes. You have superhero, Beauty and the Beast, Phantom of the Opera, Mission Impossible, Elephant Man, 30s Universal horror films with a little RoboCop mixed in. And this was actually my first introduction to Sam Raimi. I had not seen any of the Evil Dead films at that time. I really wouldn't know that much about him until Army of Darkness came out. My friend gave me the whole Evil Dead spiel and how I think the first one was still stuck in rights, so that's why you couldn't find it in most video stores. And when I was at the video store, I saw Evil Dead 2. I'm like, well, I'm not going to rent that. I haven't seen the first one. So not knowing it was kind of a partial remake continuation.
Right.
So just his crazy camera angles, use of transitions, the visuals with its cheesy effects and its comic book feel. I was like, wow, this is definitely different. And then we have our lead, who's Liam Neeson, who I only really knew at that point. He was on an episode of Miami Vice. Miami Vice was a huge show for me in the 80s. And then he was in the last Dirty Harry film, The Deadpool. So it was cool to see a fresh face that I didn't really associate with something else. So it was cool, him playing this character, this lucky scientist on the verge of a major breakthrough, whose life is now shattered and must hide in the dark, per se. And then the big surprise for me watching this was, is that Benny from LA Law?
It
He's
sure
playing
is.
a villain? Holy moly.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Larry Drake, who was a 2-time Emmy winner for that role. And I loved LA Law too. When I was away in college, I'd make my mom tape all the episodes. And when I got back for Christmas break and summer break, that was binge watching. I was binge watching before binge watching was a thing. I would watch all those episodes. I loved that show. And he has a lot of fun in this. I think he's an underrated villain, and he's not even the main villain. He's the I guess the right-hand man of our main villain.
Right.
And then so for me, this movie was just a blast. I couldn't believe, like, going to the trivia, that this did not test well. I guess it was just something that people just were not used to seeing. I mean, when you think about the mix match of all its genres and stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of over the top fun, and even watching it now, I still found it a huge blast.
So when I got to see it in the theater, because I remember the like you said, the marketing campaign, "Who is Darkman?" I remember that, and it got me, and I got to go see it in the theater. And now I was familiar with Liam Neeson because I saw him in Excalibur. I had seen him in Next of Kin. So I'd seen, but I wasn't, was like, oh, it's Liam Neeson. I'm like, I just knew of him. But yes, same with Sam Raimi. This was my first experience seeing him. And just like you, it wasn't until I saw Army of Darkness that I got to go back and watch the other Evil Dead movies. So yes, this was my first real exposure to him as well. I remember just loving this movie, watching it, and just think it was so cool. The visual effects were fun. Just his outfit and the stunts, just, it was an action movie, but it was different. It was a comic book movie, but it was different. It was definitely its own film. It borrowed from other stuff, but it combined them in a way that made it fresh. So yeah, I was lucky enough to see it in the theater. And I will say this, my feelings have changed a little bit over the years towards this movie. But that being said, Mike, opening thoughts on Darkman.
So I, like you, got to see it in the theater when it came out in the 90s, early 90s, obviously. And I was familiar with Liam Neeson from Next of Kin and Excalibur as well. Frances McDermott was just coming up, so I don't know how many other releases she had before this movie. But I remember it was not the usual suspects being cast in a movie like this.
Right.
I did know it was by Sam Raimi, and I didn't know of the Evil Dead per se, so that connection wasn't there. I was excited to watch it. I remember absorbing the futuristic computer to DNA kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And some of, I was like, this is really some forward thinking stuff. So like I said, in the 90s, computers like that computers were still being established when this movie came out, So I like that the first time I saw it. I'll delve into some of the things seeing it the second time, but the first time I enjoyed it. It was a good movie, and I wasn't disappointed. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
All right, very good. All right, let's move on.
That's the fact, Jack. That's the fact, Jack.
It's time for That's the Fact, Jack. These are some production facts about our film. Darkman was released August 24th, 1990, directed by Sam Raimi, who, of course, gave us the Evil Dead franchise, Spider-Man trilogy, and Oz the Great and Powerful, which I actually saw in the theater as well. Written by Chuck Farrer, I'm guessing that's how you say his name. The P is silent. Daniel Golden, Joshua Golden, Sam Raimi, and Ivan Raimi. Starring, as we said, Liam Neeson, Francis McDormand, Larry Drake, and a cameo by Bruce Campbell. And of course, the film score was done by Danny Elfman, one of his early film scores. Budget of $14 million, a box office of $48 million, so it was very successful, even though it is a little different. Runtime of 96 minutes, very tight 96 minutes as well. Raimi initially wanted to make a film of the pulp superhero The Shadow, but Universal had already been working on their own version and would not give him the rights. So he then created his own superhero, Darkman, taking inspiration from the Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Batman, and the Universal monsters of the 30s and the 40s. He started with a short story that turned into a 40-page treatment. With some help from his friends, Joel and Ethan Coen, his script started to take shape. His brother Ivan, medical doctor, helped him with the medical aspects of the story. I thought these were some fun, interesting things. Some casting what ifs. Raimi wanted his good friend Bruce Campbell, of course, but Universal said no, they wanted a bigger star. Bill Paxton and Gary Oldman were considered for the part before Neeson got the job. Now, I would have been on board for Gary Oldman because I absolutely love Gary Oldman and everything he does. But that would have been awesome. But anyway, Julia Roberts, Bridget Fonda, Demi Moore, and Kelly Lynch all tested for the part that Frances McDormand would get. And Raimi, the Coen brothers, and McDormand were all living together during the production. I thought that was kind of funny. The success of the film did actually spawn 2 direct-to-video sequels, some books, graphic novels, and a video game as well. That was odd. Video game? I don't remember that, but okay. Some cameos I wanted to mention. Jenny Agutter, of course, from American Werewolf in London, Logan's Run, and recently the MCU, actually. She plays the burn doctor. She was actually brought in at last minute because I believe it was Kathy Bates was initially going to play the part. She had to back out, and John Landis, who appears as one of the other doctors, got Jenny Agutter to play the part. So I thought that was really cool. And there is some debate. In fact, Bill and I were discussing this prior to recording. Some people say Joel and Ethan Coen appear in the film in the Oldsmobile that Darkman runs across during the helicopter chase, and some people say that's not really them. So maybe Joel, Ethan, if you're listening, let us know if that is actually you in there. So that'd be
when
great.
When the 4K edition comes out, then we can freeze frame and find out for sure.
Right. Oh, I love it. Okay. Before we move on, does anybody else have any trivia they want to share before we go?
Yeah, this was kind of fun. So the original cut of the movie was almost 2 hours long, and the studio, Universal, because it was not testing well, wanted them to cut out a lot of stuff. And the editing process was so crazy that supposedly the editor had a nervous breakdown, left production. So then Universal executives cut it down to 85 minutes. And then supposedly Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, and Bob Marzowski, they broke into the editing booth at the 11th hour, recut the movie to its current running time, and that's what ended up getting released. And the Universal executives were not happy about that. But that's what we ended up with, and I'm glad they did it. Any minute we can get on there, I'll take it.
Yeah, it made money, so I think they should just shut up. So, yep. But that's interesting because when we get to it, some of my complaints are that I kind of feel like some of the stuff is rushed. So I'm kind of curious what the 2-hour cut, what was removed, because I kind of think there's things in there that were probably important that they took out. So I'd love to see that, So Sam Raimi, if there's a director's cut of this film, let's see it.
Yes, please.
Please. All right, let's move on.
That was totally wicked!
It's time for That Was Totally Wicked. These are things we love about the film. So, Bill, you're our special guest. You get to go first. What's something you love about Darkman?
Just the use of visuals and camera angles in this. So there's a scene, I just call it the take the fucking elephant scene.
You stole mine.
Where Liam Neeson, who's
That
playing
Carney
Dr.
deserved it.
where Liam Neeson, who's playing Dr. Peyton Westlake, has gone through this change, unfortunately, physically, where he's burned, but he's able to make this synthetic skin that makes him look normal. And he's back with his old girlfriend, Julie, played by Frances McDormand, and they're out at a carnival. And he's doing one of the carny rides, and he's throwing a hardball at some of the bottles, and he knocks all three down in the third one. And the carny's like, "No, you don't win. You're over the line." And one of the issues after the accident is Peyton Westlake no longer feels any pain whatsoever. So now it's all like emotional buildup. So he's getting really angry that he cannot get this pink elephant that he wants to win for his girlfriend.
Right.
And we have this almost like a Dutch tilt on the carny, and he's talking to him, and you can see that Peyton is just blocking him out. And there's just this rage, and there's all these visuals of him like being torn apart and fire sprouting all over the place. And the carny sticks his two fingers right in Peyton's chest. And it's just this great swooping shot where it comes to the fingers, Peyton grabs them, breaks them both, and then you show the camera quickly pans between all three characters in the scene, which is the carny, Peyton, and then Julie. And each of them like scream. The carny's screaming because he's in pain. Peyton's screaming because he's enraged. And Julie's screaming because she's in shock, and it just goes boom, 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 and it's just like stuff like that. You don't see that often. Like once you go back and watch Evil Dead, you see where all that comes from. But
yes,
usually in mainstream movies, you don't see that, and just the way he uses the camera, I just always love. And just that shot alone, I'm like, that's what makes him different from everyone else.
Yeah, I love the red light that's shine on all three of them at the same time is just show the rage and everything else. Yeah, that's the setup to that is great because he was getting ready to reveal something to her, and they reveal that that freak at the carnival, and he changes his mind and has all the creepy clown things, and he's just the whole environment is just making it worse. Yep. So yeah, that I love that because then he just throws him through the thing. Like the fucking elephant. That makes me laugh so hard every time. That's good stuff. All right, very good. Mike, something you love about Darkman?
The same scene, but I just loved it because the whole "give me my fucking pink elephant." I mean, I was rolling on that one. I was like, this is incredible. And now that I know who directed it, this whole scene makes sense now.
Right.
Everything that Bill said, I'm like, okay, wow, yes. And I did like the three shots of the three actors, all reacting to this incredible moment that's going down. And the screen angles and some of the shots, I was thinking he was imitating Alfred Hitchcock to a certain extent. But now that I know who directed it, I'm like, no, he was doing his own thing. He was just kind of getting to do it in a main feature film.
Right. Which he did later say that he didn't enjoy working for a Hollywood production company, for Hollywood studio. He said it was a lot more difficult than this independent. So I must have gotten over that because, he made a bunch of movies for Sony. So he eventually got over it.
Maybe Sony didn't butcher his movies like Universal did.
Well, right.
Yeah. Because I'm like you too. Since we kind of got back to it, I wonder what the extra 30 minutes would have added to the pace of the film and the storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen any deleted scenes.
Yeah, me neither.
Right.
So I'm curious about that. I am curious about that. So, to Bill's point, the effects. So there's some particular effect shots that really get me every time. So very beginning when Durant and his goons show up at Peyton's office at his lab, and they're tearing the place up, and and they leave him behind, and they're gonna blow the place up. They have the gas, and they have the little bird that we see, of course, back in Alien, and he puts the lighter underneath it. So that shot, really tight shot, when the bird comes down, hits the lighter, and the flame comes up, the the flame, and then the tight shot in his eye, his pupil changing, and then just the giant fireball. It's so cool. And I know it's kind of gimmicky, but it's kind of like we've seen this before, but I don't care. People going in, the flame, and then the giant explosion, and and then the next thing you see is the flaming Peyton flying through the sky and landing in the lake.
That was so nice. I love that
was
one.
like, that's cool. But there's that one, and then every time he loses his temper, and we go inside his brain, you see all the synapses, all the electricity in his brain, and early on, there's that one shot of where he's like a puppet, like he has his head with a puppet body underneath him, and just all the things they put into that is really interesting. And I like those. The visuals for the most part, I think, are really good. There's only one that I can't think, the transition from, which takes place right after that scene exploding, when Julie's standing there. She goes from, just standing there looking to transitioning to the cemetery. That looks kind of bad. But the rest of the effects, are good. Everything from the makeup, the visuals, the bubbling skin as it comes off his face and it disintegrates. So the visuals for the budget of 14 million, is pretty good considering they probably spent a lot of money on those stunts as well. So, yeah, the visuals I think are pretty awesome.
They were good back in the 90s. I think the visuals were really good for the time period.
Oh, yeah, I agree too. I agree.
Yeah, I
Bill?
think they're hit and miss nowadays, but it was good to see some of the practical effects, and you could tell they put all 14 million on that screen.
Oh yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean the stunts, like even the chase scene through Chinatown, and I'll get back to it later, but the helicopter, hanging from the helicopter, that's just, oh my God. I mean, the dude's strapped in like every which way, but it doesn't make it any less impressive because he's just swinging around under that friggin' thing going through the city. Man, that's quite something. So, Bill, something else you love about the film?
Just how Peyton's plan to kind of get revenge, just putting on other people's, making masks of other people and impersonating them. And I'll kind of get into it a little bit later, but I love, there's a lot of like acting on acting, because it's a character that has to play another character. So you have to play it different than you have been playing it throughout the movie. And there's a lot of this. And I love when that stuff happens, especially if they can get it right. Usually see a lot of it in the switcheroo movies when someone's 30 and now they're 18, or someone's 18 playing a different older age. But they have to do in this a lot with the masks. And most of the time I thought they got it right. I thought it was pretty fun.
Well, yeah, the when he pretends to be Durant, and he does the robbery at the convenience store, and then he goes to Chinatown to talk to Hung Fat about the money, and he's like standing there, he's touching his cheek, and he's looking at the time, and one of Durant's muscles looking up at him like, is he okay? And they're all kind of worried. He's just like standing there. And then he totally gets into character and sits down at the table and says, "You will bring me the money by the time I finish this cigar." And he like cuts it way down. And so, yeah, you're right. He does a really good job. I mean, because Drake was playing two people in that one scene, and he did a really good job. So Drake's performance is great. And to your point, he got Emmys for playing, somebody not a villain in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
On LA Law, and he's a great villain. Throughout the entire film. In fact, he's so good, I think he really overshadows the true villain of the film. And we'll get back to that later.
I agree 100%.
All right. So yeah, and the design of Darkman, the scavenged clothes from at the beginning where he's just digging stuff out of dumpsters or whatever, the bandages in varying states of decay depending on how long he's had them on, and just the makeup. Like especially when they're on the building at the very end, you see that full shot of his face that's, basically nothing left. It's good, and I really love the design of him. And I kind of wish we would actually, maybe they'll revisit it now, getting a series or even a series of graphic novels or comic books that do a little bit more with him, like revisit that character, because I just love that I would like to see more of him. I don't want to watch the sequels because there's no Liam Neeson and there's no Sam Raimi, so I really don't want to watch those. So I'd like that, maybe Sam Raimi comes back and gives us something else with that character, because I love the look of that character as well. All right, Mike, anything else you love about the film?
I think you guys pretty much covered it.
All right, Bill, anything else you want to mention before we move on?
Oh, just the fact that his new layer is an abandoned factory. I always love the abandoned factory.
Yes,
So,
right.
anytime you can set up there.
Yeah, well, and when he lights the newspaper and throws that shot where he throws it across the room and then lights that giant pit, that's so cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. He makes a good use of that. And a little thing I noticed, there's a little flag hanging on the gate as he gets in where it says condemned. I can't remember what's written on there, but it's the name of a summer camp that Sam Raimi went to when he was a teenager. So
I will actually bring that up later on.
All right, very cool. All right. Spoiler. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
All right. All right, let's move on.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
Time for no, sir, I didn't like it. These are things that we don't like or don't work within the film. So, Bill, what's something you don't like or doesn't work?
I thought that Julie too easily finds out that Lewis is in cahoots with Durant, and that Lewis is actually pulling the strings to the whole thing. Because what happens is Julie finds out that there's being bribes being made so they can have this new infrastructure, basically almost building a new city within the city.
Right.
And Durant's goons go in. Unfortunately, Peyton's there and he gets all roughed up and blown up and whatnot. And it's all just to find this paper.
Right. This memo.
And then she goes to Lewis's office and there's the paper sitting right there on the desk. I'm like, what?
Well, and that's the thing. It's like they're smart by putting the coffee ring on it.
Yes.
So that way, because it's kind of setting something up. So when we see it later, we get to piece it together. But yeah, he literally left it there in top of his briefcase, completely visible for everybody to see. And I'm like, dude, you didn't even try to hide it.
Yeah, that's evidence for the shredder. What are you holding on to it for?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. It seemed a little bit. And while we're talking about her boss and her, as I said, with Drake and playing Durant is such a great villain that her boss, what's his name? What is it?
Louis Strack?
Strack.
The character? Yeah.
Yeah. We don't get him enough. You know what I mean? He's supposed to be we don't even we get one scene of them kind of out together, but it's more of a thing for the business. So she mentions that she was seeing him, but we didn't see that. If we'd gotten more of them courting, dating or whatever, then maybe the reveal when we see that thing in the briefcase, it has more of an impact, because at that point you're just kind of I kind of wish it would have been yeah, he's the businessman, but I was kind of hoping every time I watch it, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm kind of hoping honestly that Durant is actually the mastermind and he's using that guy as a puppet. But he's just such a weak villain. He really is.
He is.
With
everything in this movie being so clever, why is that not clever?
Exactly. And then at the end when Durant dies, his death is way more satisfying than Strack. It's just okay. Yeah, he fell off the building. Okay, good. So anyway. All right, Mike, something you don't like about the film?
One of the things that, besides what you just said, is the when he's repairing his laboratory, is getting this equipment, whether he salvaged it from his original lab or he salvaged it from other sources. I'm like, this would have to be some high-end electronics to produce what he needs produced.
Right.
And so either A, the explosion should have destroyed all of his original equipment, and B, where was he scavenging up this equipment if it was destroyed in the lab? I was kind of like, that's some elite stuff. You just don't find it in a dumpster.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I guess it's one of those things where if you're willing to accept the fact that this guy can make fake skin and he can, not feel pain and all this other stuff, you kind of go, well, he was able, because
Agreed.
I mean, but I do agree with you, because they at least, when you hear the computer talking, it's garbled at times. It's
Right.
struggling to get its words out and whatever. But yeah, I agree. You're kind of like, that was a big explosion. It was a gas explosion, not you.
Mhm. Right.
Obviously doesn't survive. So yeah. So one thing that, to me, because this is why I would love to see the 2-hour cut of the film, there's some character development missing at the beginning of the film that I think is necessary for us to really kind of feel for Peyton when he gets blown up. So we're 15 minutes into the film when he does get blown up. There's an emotional connection missing. We get a couple scenes with him and Julie, and he says, "Marry me." It's all very rushed. It's all very in a hurry, and then boom. So we never got to know Peyton as a normal person, as that scientist, as that guy who's in love before he became Darkman. And so there's really no connection to him. There was no feeling sorry. There's no, there's an emotional connection missing throughout the entire film. The film's fun, but his situation, we should feel for him. We should be like, I can't believe this happened to this guy, whatever, but we don't, because there's that missing. So I'm kind of wondering if that was part of the beginning of the film that was cut out. So yeah, we don't know who Peyton is before he becomes Darkman, and I think that's a problem. So
one of the things I kind of, it's not got to do with the storyline, but it almost seemed like there was no chemistry between the two main characters.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you have that just because certain actors just don't spark on the screen. But I'm like you. I'm like, there was no courtship for either of it's just like, and then he's like, "Marry me," and it's like, okay, that's really unromantic. um
Well, at least it wasn't fucking take the ring,
right.
All right.
Pink elephant.
Bill, is there anything else you don't like or doesn't work for you? Because I still got a few more.
No, but I just want to touch on what Mike was saying, because you know what, I didn't think about it because I'm watching this. I'm like, Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand, they have such storied careers. I'm like, they're two good actors, but yeah, when you really think about, do they have a connection or a spark? Yeah, when I'm thinking about it, yeah, you're right. There's not that much between them. It makes sense. I'm just watching two good actors do their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, if there was, and I think if there was, and I know they spent a lot of time working together, off screen, but my thing is, if there was really a lot of chemistry early on, then maybe we don't need more scenes. But since that is missing, we probably needed a few more scenes of them doing things together. And yeah, we get that at the carnival, at first, and we get that, when he shows up at the cemetery. But yeah, there's definitely not, like, I don't believe their relationship. So
boom,
there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Bill?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I have a couple more because I'm just super critical at times.
No, it's okay.
I apologize. So, okay. This is something that always bothers me. And I understand that there's only certain things that Peyton can control, but knowing his fake skin only lasts for 99 minutes, why is he always going out in the daytime? Like, especially with Julie, because he can take her out in the evening, out to dinner, something where maybe there's not as much sunlight, and maybe the skin lasts a little longer. I don't know. I know he can't control when he has to be, poly or whatever, but it just seems to me like, he's called Darkman and he does everything during the day. And that seemed a little like a missed opportunity. At the beginning, when Rick is dunking Peyton's head in that tank of whatever it is, Peyton's face is getting burned, but yet nothing has happened to Rick's hand, who it's obviously getting wet. It's obviously getting in there. I mean, it's a small one, but it's still something that I see. And the one that it's fun, but it really annoys me. The opening scene at the dock when we introduce ourselves to Durant and his crew, and we meet Eddie Black, who's running, who's basically the crime boss on that side of town. Durant and his guys are all searched, so they don't have any guns on them. And then, we have the gun hidden in the guy's fake leg, which is awesome. But tell me, how is it that one guy with one gun can take down an entire warehouse full of guys that have guns? They have the numbers. They're even driving around in cars. And I'm like, is Durant's crew really that awesome? Or are the other guys just terrible? And I'm just...
They're the stormtroopers of the...
Oh, you know what? I've fought against that whole narrative. I'm not even going to... I hate that excuse about the stormtroopers. Anyway, to me, it just... I don't know. What do you think, Bill? I'm just kind of curious, So
for the first one, I think it was supposed to, as an audience member, I think it's supposed to build tension because there's a 99-minute time limit and he's out with her during the day. So you're like, how much time? How much time? That's right. That was what was going through my head the whole time. I'm watching these scenes. Like, how much time? What can you do in that 99-minute span to be with her? And then he's got to take off. And how do you keep justifying that? Yeah, after 90 minutes, I got to go and just say, I got a therapy session. But where does that go? So I think it's more to just build tension for the audience. Yes, it's not logical. What you say is perfectly right. They should be going out to dinner at night or going to a movie, that kind of stuff. Going to the carnival at night. You don't have to go during the day.
Right.
So I do agree with that. And then even the scene with the Eddie Black. Okay, it was cool how we figured out they got the one gun in. But yes, like where did the other guns come from?
I can only figure that maybe they picked him up. Maybe they picked him up off the ground after he shot the other guys. But even still, there was 5 of them and 30, so it just...
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, at least some of them died. But
did they?
For the most part...
Did they lose any other people?
Yeah, I think they had more.
Okay.
I thought they came in with at least 12. And then they ended up with 5 at the end.
You know what? I'll have to watch that again to see because I was always, every time I watched it, I was under the impression that they made it all out. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to do that again.
But it was still like 3 to 4 to 1.
Yeah, it's a 4 to 1. Yeah. So to me, it just seemed kind of overpowered
guns compared to no guns.
Yeah.
You could surprise and get out, 5 or 6 real quick. But at that point, the rest of you are all shot up.
Yeah. And it was cool that the cars came out of the storage containers. But I'm still like, I don't know. I mean, that's just...
And Durant's a pretty good shot because he plugged those drivers 1-2,
yes,
no problem.
Yeah, one shot each time, so that's pretty good. And he does have a military background. I did want to point that out that when they're at his place, we get more information about him, than we do about the other people. But anyway, but yes, he is definitely a good shot. So, all right. Any other complaints before we move on? Okay, we're going to take a quick promo break, and when we get back, we're going to hit some favorites and give the film a rating.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason, and this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we are finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
You can find the All 80s Movies Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe and happy listening.
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
All right. It's time for Smiling's My Favorite. These are some favorite things we have about the film. So first, favorite character, Bill.
Oh, yeah, it's Durant.
Yeah, me
Larry
too.
Drake. Just like I said, all I knew him from going to this movie was playing Benny in LA Law, who is a 180 of this character. So
yes.
I was not expecting him to have such a presence as he does in this. I love his little finger fetish that he has, that he
Yes.
likes to cut off people's fingers and keep a collection of them. And just so I was mentioning, he has to do all this double acting. He has to not only play his character Durant, but he has to play at some point Peyton Westlake, pretending that he's Durant, and pull that off and make it believable also, which I think he does. Even at that end scene when he shows up and you think he's like, how the hell did he survive the helicopter crash?
Right.
I was like, yeah, okay. I bought it that, it was him. Well, it was him, but because he has that iconic line. It's like, you think you take him out and he's a cockroach. Just the way he delivers that, I was like, it was in the trailer. That's how cool it was.
Yeah.
So I was just totally surprised by him in this movie, and I'm surprised we didn't see him in much more after this. I think like
Agreed.
Dr. Giggles. Yeah. So
yeah.
the only other thing I can think of.
Giggles. God, that's a pull. That's a deep cut. All right. Okay, Mike, favorite character?
I kind of liked the scene. It's not a character that but I liked all the characters. I think they all played their parts well. There wasn't anybody that played a part that I'm like, oh God, wrong cast or wrong script or wrong, the delivery.
Okay.
But kind of to this, but not completely, is the bald goon
Pauly.
getting his due up. Yes, Pauly. Yeah. That I like that part of him. The guy that plays him, I think, was maybe a handful of appearances that I've seen him around, but I can't think of anything else he's been in.
Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Swamp Thing. Yeah, that's right. Swamp Thing.
Okay. Yeah. But I just liked that scene. I liked how he, again, the duality of an actor playing him. Was
the first time he leaves the deli, he takes that big bite of the sandwich, and I'm like, dude, you left half a sandwich there. Take it with you. Don't waste food.
Well, then in the second scene where he's in there, he doesn't touch, Liam playing. Yeah, he doesn't even touch the food.
I know.
Which, is kind of a neat segue, if you will, or, I think that was should have been a giveaway to the rest of the crew. It's like, okay, he's not acting right. But, again, who thinks that somebody else can wear someone else's skin?
Right. That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, I just like that character getting his comeuppance, if you will. Yeah, that's why.
All right. So I'm in agreement with Bill as far as Durant being my favorite character. I mean, I love Liam Neeson, but even as Darkman, I just was kind of like, yeah, he's cool and everything. But as he mentioned, the finger collection, I love the fact that he has taxidermy in his house too. And if you look behind him and when he's on the phone, he has some war medals that he received, up there as well. So I think that we learn just in that scene where he's on the phone, we learn a lot about Durant. We get plenty of information from him. He is a great villain. Every scene he's in, he really kind of commands those scenes, and he's the most interesting character in the whole film, which is kind of disappointing considering it's called Darkman. So, oh well.
I agree with you 100% that Durant is the most entertaining, exciting, and almost the best character in the entire movie.
All right, cool. All right, favorite scene, Bill?
Yeah, you mentioned it is the trashing of Peyton's lab. It's just all the different uses of camera work. When one of the thugs takes Peyton and slams him into the cabinets, and then we have the shot of in the cabinets and watching his head go through the glass.
Yeah,
a lot of over the top stuff in it also, but I really enjoyed it. And then when he gets blown up and you see him just rocket out. And then even when he falls into the lake or river or whatever,
I think it might be a river. Yeah,
I was like, wow, that actually doesn't look like a dummy. That actually looked like they dropped someone on fire into that, because it seemed lifelike. It didn't have that lifeless kind of feel to it.
Yeah, the arms were flapping in the breeze. Yeah.
And just even the stuff you just mentioned with the camera, with the bird hitting and the flame coming and his pupil dilating, and I thought it was just a really good mix-mash of Sam Raimi camera style. He was just throwing everything out there and just
Well,
seeing
yeah,
what hit and what missed, and it was a lot of, and just even watching poor Peyton's lab
his
partner.
assistant, yeah,
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a rough way. It's like,
get
oh, okay, yeah,
ventilated,
we'll let
yes.
you breathe. Boom. So I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, there's that part where he grabs onto the one the tub. There's metal
Yes.
poles or whatever. His hands, that shows the hands melting all the flesh off of there.
Mhm.
So very, in retrospect, it's very Evil Dead. You know what I mean? In Army
Yes,
of
it
Darkness.
is.
So, but yeah. All right. So we mentioned the carnival scene earlier for good reason. That is actually my favorite scene because we get a lot of different things that happen during that part. We actually get to see, Peyton happy with Julie, and they were going on the rides and whatever. And to your point, we do have that time ticking because he keeps checking his watch, and she says, I want to come with you, and he's having to lie to her and everything else. And then we have, of course, the pink elephant scene, and it's such a fun section because we start off very happy and happy go lucky and yay, and then he basically has that mental break and breaks some fingers and then chucks that carny through the back of the thing and then runs away, and of course leads Julie follows him back to his place, and that's when she realizes what's going on. But yeah, and a very close runner up is the helicopter chase because Jesus.
Oh, yes.
Holy crap. Mike, do you have an actual favorite scene?
You guys covered all of them. So I can't really add. You both hit them right on the head the way I was wanting to.
All right. Yeah, I just want to mention the helicopter scene again. It just cracks me up. It just all the explosions, there's a lot of stuff
through the window,
yeah,
and making the wisecrack as he gets yanked back out.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah, and then of course they blow up the police helicopter. There's just just crazy, and considering it goes on for a while, it doesn't get boring. They kept it enough, exciting to keep it fresh. So very cool. All right, so favorite Sam Raimi film, Bill.
Man, all right, I'm gonna do like a 3-parter here. So for directing, I'm gonna go with The Evil Dead. I love the original because I love raw, low budget horror films that work better than they have any right to.
Right, that's fair.
That should not have worked at all, and it does, and I love it. And it's just a fun one for me. For acting, he was in this 1993 movie called Indian Summer, which he plays Stick, and it takes place at Camp Tamaqua, whatever it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's where. Yeah. So if you've ever seen it, he plays a nitwit. He's just a comic relief in this movie, but he's pretty funny every time he's on screen. And then as a producer, I'd have to go with Don't Breathe. That was a movie that surprised me. I had no idea what it was about going in. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, and I found it really impressive. I mean, they screw everything up with the sequel, but the first one was really good.
I have not seen that one yet. So it's on my list of films to watch when I get a chance. When I take a year off and watch a bunch of movies, that's definitely on my list to watch. All right, very good. I'd be happy to know you didn't mention any of the ones I had down, possibly.
Right, cool.
All right. So, Mike, do you have a favorite Sam Raimi film?
Well, I'm going to go back to the original, movie, Night of the Living Dead,
or Evil Dead.
Or Evil Dead. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep.
Again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but Bill made such good comments. This is exactly the way I feel about it. I'm not very versed in his movies anyways, but I'm going to have to go back and start checking into him now. I didn't realize he had done, from what you guys are saying, that he's as versed as he is in Hollywood, I guess. Yeah. So I'm going to have to investigate this guy's career and find out. He's probably done some really good stuff. And I think, Dayton, you're probably going to lead into that.
Yes. Well, so honestly, the first film I saw that I knew who Sam Raimi was Army of Darkness.
Yes.
And to this day is still one of my it's my favorite of his because it's so much fun. Uh, it's so quotable. It's just funny. And for a short time, there actually was a app on your phone that you could play where you were basically playing Army of Darkness, and you were upgrading your character and getting the shotgun on your arm and all this. And it was a fun little app, and of course, it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But it was so much fun. That film cracks me up. It's 100% Sam Raimi. There's no, making it accessible to people. It's just great. Now, I will say, a close second would be his the first Spider-Man film he did, because at that point we really hadn't gotten a lot of good Marvel films, and that was so much better than it should have been. It was so much better than people were expecting, and he proved at that point that he can handle a Hollywood film, a big budget Hollywood film, and so much so that we won't talk about the third one. The second one was pretty good. We won't talk about the third one. And then he was brought back for the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I really enjoyed. He was able to bring in some of his horror chops into that one for sure. But yeah, he has quite a career, and I think with Spider-Man was kind of where we got to see how versatile he could be as well. So, but yeah, those are my two almost tied for first favorites.
All right, Dayton, question for you.
Yes.
Which ending of Army of Darkness do you like better?
I
put you on the spot.
Wow, Dayton's silence. Wow.
I know. I you know what? I will have to get back to you on that. I'm gonna go get my DVD out and check. Which do you prefer?
I think I like the director's cut one. Not the
okay.
As much as I like seeing early Bridget 90s Fonda. I'd have to go with the other version.
All right. No. All right. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I will get back. I'll put a comment in the show, in the show notes.
Yes. People will want to know.
I know. I love that. All right. So cool. Let's hit some final words and rating on a scale of 1 to 5 film reels. Bill, how you want to sum it up and what's your rating?
Well, since I picked this, I better give it a good rating. So I'm going 4 film reels. I think it just has a great cast, great music. As we mentioned, score by Danny Elfman. You do hear a little bit of Batman in there, but it does have a lot of its own original music that I really do enjoy.
Yeah.
The makeup effects are really good, for that time period, and just the crazy visuals. And I really do like the character of Darkman. I
do too.
Even though I didn't put Liam Neeson as my favorite character, he's the close second for me. I wish we got more out of this character besides the 2 direct-to-video movies and an unaired TV pilot. It's an IP I'd like to see them bring back in some form.
Yeah,
comics,
I agree.
Whatever. I need more Darkman. It's original. It's unique. Yeah, because they don't really focus on the whole non-pain angle. Because I would like to see when he was running around and because I recently saw that movie Novocaine.
Okay, right.
Where the guy doesn't experience any pain, and they made a lot of fun out of him getting hurt, and not knowing it was happening. And I was like, oh yeah, some of the stuff I'd like to see with Darkman. Like he gets shot and doesn't even know it, and he's still charging you because he has no idea he got shot yet.
They did that one thing when his hand caught on fire. That was the only time they ever really leaned into it.
Yeah.
And then he had a meltdown after that.
So
but yeah,
I like just the look of him. I just think the character's really cool, and I think they could really do a lot of it. He's like a superhero that's not a superhero.
So, as I alluded to earlier, I really loved this film in my early 20s. And as I watched it again, I have a tendency to find more faults than I remember there being to begin with. At this point, Raimi was still developing. He hadn't done a whole lot. And I think once you get to a simple plan, and a few years later, he learning to tell a story, to give us characters and let us explore those characters. Like he did the same thing with The Gift. In this one, it feels hurried. We're not getting character development, but the action is great. The visuals are great. So for me, it's 3 out of 5 film reels because it's fun. it's good, but there are definitely things missing that would have made it a truly great film. So that's where I am with it. Mike, last words and a rating.
I was really impressed with the early career aspect of everybody involved, with the exception of Drake. Even though he wasn't an early actor being discovered, the fact that he played 180 degree from what he was known for in Hollywood at the time,
Right.
I like that a lot. When I left the theater, seeing it the first time, I was satisfied. I don't know what I would have rated it because I can't quite remember how much I liked it back then, but I know I enjoyed it. I'm like you, looking back at it now, when you look at it a more critical and through 35-year plus vision of what the future and
Right.
technology and all this, so I'm like, okay, but I'm like, no, this is cool. They're talking about 3D printing, scanning, computer power, this cell generating thing that's part of a 3D printer, and fake flesh, severing nerve endings because of chronic pain. These are all things that are really kind of cutting edge for the time period.
Right.
So they're looking into the future. I like that about the movie. But now that I'm in the future, so to speak, compared to where the movie was set, I look back and I'm like, but so I probably would have given it closer to a 5 rating, like on the 4, maybe a 4.5 the first time I saw it. So like I said, I was satisfied with it. But now looking at it through the eyes of, a 54-year-old man who's experienced all kinds of stuff that this movie was groundbreaking in its thinking, I'm like, it's like you, it's missing a few things, but I still like it so much just because again, it was a spring. I don't know if it's a springboard. It's just the use of the people in the movie, everybody involved hadn't really hit their stride yet.
Right. That's
And
true.
so you see an early version of all the people involved, and you're like, oh, the glimmers of how good they end up coming. So a sentimental aspect to it, I think it still puts it at a 3.5, even though I look at it with the more modern eyes now. It's either way, it's a good movie worth watching.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, that brings us to an end of this one. I first want to thank Bill for suggesting it and being our guest. So thank you very much, Bill.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. And we look forward to having you on a future episode this year on our show.
Yep. We already have the movie picked out. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Make sure to check out Bill and Jason over at the All 80s Movies podcast. It's a nice trip back to the 80s. And it's fun. Because there were a couple recent episodes, I watched Diner for the first time, and it was everything they said it was going to be. And so check them out. And I'm also not going to watch The Toy again because of their reviews. Because nostalgia is sometimes better.
That's the best compliment you can give us. We made you watch a movie.
That's right.
Or not watch a movie.
Of course. Thanks, Mike, for stopping by. Appreciate it, man.
Always a pleasure to come on and be part of a show. I like the great suggestions that our people listening make and some of the other podcasters that join, because it gives me an opportunity to go back and revisit things that I'd forgotten and gives me a chance to sit down and watch real media for once.
Very good. Of course, we'd like to thank our listeners for spending time with us. There are hundreds of podcast choices all over the place, so it means a lot that you spend time with us every week. Reach out on social media. Let us know what you think about Darkman, Liam Neeson, Sam Raimi. What is your favorite Sam Raimi film? We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky. There's also a link to our Discord in the show notes. Come join us over there and chat directly with us, as well as some of our other listeners. If you rate and review the podcast, we will share the review on an episode and also share it on social media. If you do love what we're doing, think about joining our Patreon over there for as little as $1 a month. You can get tons of exclusive content. There's usually one new episode every month. And sometimes we even let you help pick a topic for a future episode. So the rest of this month, we also have, like I said before, Jason from the All 80s Movies podcast, Bill's counterpart. He's going to join us. His pick is the film District 9, a great sci-fi film from the 2000s. And our friend from the 30-something movie podcast, John Reed, he'll be joining us for Solo, a Star Wars story. Do yourself a favor and watch more movies. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.